He blew the horn to see if it would move, and the creature came up out of the water about 5 feet, a long neck and a big head.
It was taller than an NBA basketball player, more buff than an NFL football player, and it could have just crumbled me.
They're a group of animals that will always try and survive, but when some get into trouble, the others do.
Is America's famous Bigfoot just one of many mysterious hairy hominids globally? And why do whales and dolphins beach themselves? Animal X investigates the weird world of animal mysteries. First to a sea creature said to have haunted the waters off America's east coast for more than 3 centuries.
Could America's east coast be home to an ancient legend, a mysterious monster of the deep? For more than 350 years, locals who live along this stretch of the Atlantic Ocean have been seeing something strange in the sea. They believe they share their beautiful water playground with the great New England Sea Serpent. From the coast of New England north up to Canada, hundreds of witnesses claim to have encountered the serpentine creature. History shows it is one of the world's best documented sea serpents, up to 80 feet long, with a strange series of humps.
His eyes was right piercing, that's what got to me. He looked right through me.
Type of a monster with a head like a horse, but a body like a snake.
What I've found is that there are 235 valid sightings of an unknown creature dating back to 1638.
To investigate this marine mystery, Animal X travels to the tranquil seafaring town of Gloucester, Massachusetts, where, over 3 centuries, compelling eyewitness accounts have kept this ancient legend alive. Fisherman Charles Bungay was netting the day's catch about 8 miles off Fortune Bay on the southern coast of Newfoundland when he locked eyes with the hideous monster.
His face looked something like between a horse and a camel. His face was about this long, I'd say, down, straight down. He just shoved his head down underwater and took it up and turned it and looked right at us again, you know, and went on. It didn't kick up any water, it just slid smoothly.
Mechanic Bob Crew was on land when he had his close encounter, driving along a deserted road overlooking the bay at Cape Bonavista in Newfoundland. He saw a strange dark shape near some jagged rocks. What happened next shocked Bob Crew. His wife Debbie says the encounter with the strange beast has left a lasting impression on her husband, so much so that he is reluctant to talk about it.
He blew the horn to see if it would move, and it did, and what he said was the creature came up out of the water about 5 feet, a long neck and a big head, and he just waited, and it looked like the animal was feeding. So he just blew his horn again, and the animal just swam away a little bit and came back, and then it went under and it disappeared. He didn't see it anymore.
Bonavista Mayor Betty Fitzgerald believes many people have seen the sea serpent, but fear of ridicule has become a powerful weapon to keep most silent.
It's a mystery to me, and it's a mystery to a lot of people in town that something like this was seen in our area. And who am I or anyone else to say that those people were lying? We've seen something and we don't know what it is, so it'll remain a mystery, I guess. A lot of people around this area have seen it, but nobody ever mentions it unless you bring it up. They'll say, oh, well, I can remember seeing that, but I never ever told anybody because you get too much heartache.
Locals who are willing to talk about this mystery believe a rock formation near Bob Crew's sighting could be the serpent's home. Known as the Dungeon, it has 2 tunnels leading to the sea. New York author June O'Neill has tracked the New England Sea Serpent on its journeys. It has been a 30-year interest.
It's between 60 and 80 feet long. It's dark brown or black on its back, cream-colored on its belly. It has a snake-like but horse-sized head, which it swims with it out of the water, held at an angle to the water. And it swims with a peculiar vertical undulation, which makes no sense whatsoever.
As legend has it, up until the early 1940s, annual summer visits to Gloucester by this snake of the sea were an accepted phenomenon. Back in 1817, it caused a real sensation. Witnesses reported an incredible event, how it spent the entire month of August at play in the harbor.
For the most part, it traveled among the boats here in the harbor for a compelling amount of time, giving everybody a really good chance to have a look at it. And we're at Stageport Park, where hundreds of people gathered with their spyglasses to have a glimpse of this unknown creature from the depths.
Dr. Edward Bosefield has had a 50-year career in marine biology and is considered an expert on aquatic megaserpents. The Canadian scientist has spent years investigating another mysterious sea reptile called the Cadborosaurus, or caddy. Dr. Bosefield believes the body form and swimming style of caddy and the New England serpent are virtually identical.
Characteristically, when it's swimming at the surface, it has a horse-like head in profile. The neck is relatively long, and characteristically, there are 2 or more vertical humps or loops in tandem, one behind the other, right behind the head and neck.
Dr. Bosefield has no doubt the creatures are real, but he fears maybe not for much longer. He believes this prehistoric survivor is now under threat of extinction because of man.
This animal is subject to all the negative influences of the human species in coastal waters, and this includes oil pollution, toxic chemical pollution, other noxious substances. But in our view, a serious form of pollution is noise pollution.
But many skeptics doubt sea serpents even exist. They have dozens of theories about what witnesses could be seeing. Dr. Bosefield hits back, claiming no eyewitness accounts match anything in the known animal kingdom.
I've spent my entire career studying crustaceans, and let me assure you, there is no similarity whatsoever. So these off-the-top-of-the-head guesses, to my view, have no credibility whatsoever.
You got to see it yourself to believe it. But I saw what I saw, and you can't change that.
To my knowledge, there is nothing that has ever existed on the planet that combines all the features of the sea serpent as it's described in New England waters, making it an authentic X-animal.
Serpents have been a part of sea legend and folklore since man first set sail. Whatever witnesses have seen in this case, they all agree. The ocean is a big, unexplored playground for many strange creatures. The New England Sea Serpent may well be one of them.
The New England Sea Serpent may be confined to the Northern Hemisphere. Not so wildmen said to inhabit almost every corner of the globe. After the break, Animal X investigates mysterious hairy bipeds, from Bigfoot to the Almas, the Yowie, and beyond.
We saw a sort of hairy, ape-like thing that probably would have stood about 8 feet tall.
Welcome back to Animal X. There are many reports of mysterious creatures sharing our planet, but few are as hotly contested as giant ape-type creatures like Bigfoot. So where are they situated and what of their origins?
Incredible tales of mysterious man-ape type creatures have been told since recorded time. Their names vary: Yowie, Sasquatch, Noy Rung, Pongo, Yeti, and the most famous of all, Bigfoot. While their existence has been hotly disputed in various countries, Animal X presents a rare global overview of this wild man phenomenon.
I have the physical evidence that proves that there is an animal up there.
The theory that Gigantopithecus is still with us as Sasquatch has been received by the scientific community by totally ignoring it.
Animal X travels to the northern and southern hemispheres to speak to witnesses and experts on the possible existence of hairy bipeds. Over the centuries, they have been reportedly sighted in every continent except Antarctica. Indigenous tribespeople are among the first to have recorded sightings of these giant creatures, and their legends live on in tales handed down from generation to generation. In Russia, the Bigfoot-type creature said to inhabit dark forests is known as the Alma. Those who have investigated many reported sightings believe the wild man knows his territory and uses it to remain well hidden.
Wild men don't want contacts with us. He afraid of us, we afraid of him.
It's a similar story in America, home to the notorious Bigfoot. Matthew Johnson was out trekking with his family when he had his encounter.
He was taller than an NBA basketball player, more buff than an NFL football player, and it could have just crumbled me and thrown me away.
Down under, in Australia, the nation's wild man goes by the name of Yowie. Said mostly to inhabit the eastern seaboard, it's even been sighted by a member of the Senate.
We saw a sort of hairy, ape-like thing that probably would have stood about 8 feet tall. It moved in a sort of slightly crab-like fashion.
Not only are there many names for these hairy hominids, it's claimed they vary in size. Researcher Lloyd Pye groups them into 4 different types based on their height and weight.
The Bigfoot Sasquatch kind is in the 7 to 10 foot range, 700 to 1,000 pounds. The abominable snowman Yeti kind is more, quote, man size, 5 to 7 feet tall, 300 to 600 pounds. The Almas also in that same range, but a very distinct species in the 5 to 7 foot tall, 300 to 600 pound range. And the Agagwis, or a pygmy kind, they're about 4 feet tall, weigh about 200, 250 pounds.
Could this diversity in appearance mean that there are several different species or types of wild man in the world? Jim Keegan is a Bigfoot recorder, monitoring all reported sightings of hairy hominids. He believes the theory is plausible.
I believe that the Yeti and that the Almas and that the Yowie are also 3 different species.
So what of the origins of wild men? One theory is that they are distant relatives of the Earth's earliest human inhabitants, Neanderthal man. Certainly some hominid researchers think so. They point to the Alma, said to inhabit Russia and China, as exhibiting a human-like appearance.
I do believe that probably the Almas are going to turn out to be living Neanderthals.
If any of the hairy hominids that are present today worldwide are related to the Neanderthals, it would be the Almas.
The other theory is that wild men are descendants of the world's largest known ape, Gigantopithecus. Said to stand between 8 and 10 feet tall, scientists claim it died out some 100,000 years ago. Physical anthropologist Dr. Grover Krantz says he has seen the evidence firsthand that links Giganto with wild men.
I studied the jaws of the Gigantopithecus and realized that they were spread out in the back in an extraordinarily wide manner. And the only possible reason for that is because their neck was in between the back of their jaws. In other words, they must have been upright.
We had a perfect candidate for the Sasquatch.
The mystery intensifies further here in a laboratory in Conroe, Texas. Officer Jimmy Chilcutt is a world expert on human and primate fingerprints and has analyzed samples from more than 1,000 primates. He says these Bigfoot casts were most definitely made by a creature that is not human.
From the physical evidence available in this casting, I can say for certain that the ridge flow pattern is definitely not human, and it's not of any known primate, but it is a primate print.
While the body of evidence on the existence of wild men may be growing, mainstream science remains firmly locked in the category of non-believer. But then again, it has been known to change its mind. For instance, 20 years ago, stories of giant squid were dismissed as simply seafaring legend. And 100 years ago, it was inconceivable to think that there could be giant pandas or silverbacked gorillas. Perhaps hard evidence will surface one day to change present perceptions, some form of solid proof to show that these worldwide tales of wild men are not so wild after all.
From one wild mammal to another. After the break, Animal X investigates the phenomenon of beaching whales. Why do they do it, and what's it like to be part of a team trying to save them from a traumatic death?
2 a.m. walking through the sand dunes down onto the beach and seeing these black streamline torpedoes rolling around in the surf was quite a sight.
Welcome back. Animals have an uncanny ability to save us from impending doom. But what happens when the situation is reversed, when people power comes to the fore? It's all part of the story of beaching whales, one that has changed lives and keeps science guessing.
For centuries, whales and dolphins all over the world have embarked on a mysterious and deadly journey, stranding themselves in great numbers along stretches of coastline. It is a phenomenon that has baffled even the best scientific minds. One of the largest strandings occurred on a remote beach, 180 miles south of Western Australia's capital city, Perth. More than 60 false killer whales lay dead or dying.
They're not committing suicide, that's total nonsense. We still cannot pinpoint a single reason, and we're still in the realm of theories.
To investigate this marine mystery, Animal X travels to the small seaside town of Augusta in Western Australia, where man and whale formed an amazing bond during an epic beach battle. Hundreds of people answered the SOS to save the whales. Senior Wildlife Officer David Mell coordinated the rescue effort.
2 a.m. walking through the sand dunes down onto the beach and seeing these black streamline torpedoes rolling around in the surf was quite a sight. The animals were spread over an area of 5 kilometres.
As pictures were beamed around the world, people watched this tragedy unfold. Reporter Carolyn Bertram covered the story.
We found the baby of the pod now. It was obviously going to die. It was distressed and it was sick. The vet was on his way down to have a look at the animal. And I remember putting my hand on it and feeling it, breathing and looking at its spout. And I knew that I was going to be the last living thing that this creature ever touched in any way. And it was one of those experiences that I think will probably last a lifetime.
It is the kind of feeling that kept rescuers going as they nursed their wards in icy waters during an all-night vigil. 25 animals died well before whale experts could move the massive creatures to a town jetty several miles away. The The sea turned black with bodies as board riders herded the whales 2 miles out. But then, as if on some mysterious, deadly cue, the pod turned back to shore.
We need the muscles working 1 mile at a time. Head first up the beach.
Rescuers turned to Professor Nick Gales, the veterinarian in charge of the animals, for answers.
But sometimes they come inshore and it might be chasing food, as was probably the case here, but they came in during a bit of a storm or following a big storm and got into an area where there was a bit of a trap, and all of their ability to navigate as a group and everything was threatened.
Another theory, one of the most popular, is that the bond between whales is so strong that when a sick animal strands, its friends follow.
They're a group of animals that will always try and survive, but the fundamental part of a social group like that is staying together. So when some get into trouble, the others do.
Back in Augusta, 5 more whales died before the pod was finally coaxed back out to sea. But in the last tragic twist, another 24 animals were discovered, so sick they had to be put down. Despite that, scientists believe good does come from these bizarre mass strandings.
People standing waist deep in freezing cold water for hours and hours and hours, and their sole objective was to actually try and assist an animal in distress.
And one thing rescuers can be sure of: while science can't and may never be able to pinpoint why mass strandings happen, they will be once again called on to save the whales.
From the legendary New England Sea Serpent to frightening wild men said to share our planet, and the enigma of beaching whales. The mysterious tales of the animal world continue to fascinate and perplex us. After all, it's said there are stranger things in heaven and earth than we can think of. You've just seen some of them on Animal X.
The dog is not to be diverted from its instinctive purpose.
I guess some people might think that this is kind of a Frankensteinish project, in that we're sort of recreating some monster with bolts of lightning and this thing's going to come clawing its way off the table.
Some people have seen the head, and they describe it as a dog-like head.